Hey everyone, just checking audio since.
Yeah,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, cool. All
good
right. I
afternoon.
wasn't sure if there was going to be an intro before this, but if everybody's ready, I'm fine to just jump right in.
Yeah, there should be introduction. And in lieu of an introduction
Okay.
from my colleagues, we'd like to welcome everybody to today's event. We're excited to have you. We have over 66 people attending today. So thank you very much for spending your lunch hours with us at PMI-SAC, and we look forward to a great talk. Over to you, Micah.
Awesome. All right.
Hmm.
I'll share my screen here and make sure everybody can see that.
वो लाइन ड्रॉप हो गई एक बार जी
All right. All right. So today we're going to be talking about AI and the concept
बड़ा
of
मुश्किल है यार
project
ये
management.
नहीं
So it'll be both myself
शेड्यूलिंग लग रहा है तो जॉब शॉप
and
ही
my
कोई
good
नहीं तो
friend
जॉब
Brandon
लग रहे
Duckworth
हैं
from
इंटरव्यू कल भी
Krulo.
है कभी कुछ हो गया नहीं नहीं इन
See,
दिना नहीं
Atik,
नहीं
any
हमारा तो हाई
chance
लेकिन
we
हमारे
could
जॉब
get
की
you
दुनिया
muted?
करती है बड़ी
It's Atik.
नहीं मैं कुछ करता हूँ
Yeah.
हम डिस्कस कर लें हो जाए ठीक है 2 मिनट बाद
I'd do it for you, but I don't have been control over this session.
Yeah, I was just checking. I can't do it either. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Everyone,
so
go on
me and my
mute.
good friend Brandon Duckworth from Krulo. Brandon, if you want to do a quick introduction of yourself,
Yeah,
I'll jump
absolutely.
in on mine as well.
Thanks, Micah. My name is Brandon Duckworth, and I'm a principal solutions engineer over here at Krulo, and we're an AI productivity work OS. And today we kind of wanted to demonstrate some things with projects and how AI can really superpower you in that. And feel free to interrupt us at any time. I'm happy to answer questions. And my good friend Micah here is going to kind of lead the presentation, and then I'm going to demonstrate some AI workflows that we use every day in project management software.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. So a little background on myself. This is my third business that I have started and scaled up. In this business, I go into other companies, help them set up their project management tools, just like Brulo, get everything structured, leverage AI, looking at things like AI agents, figure out AI-powered automation. So both Brandon and I have a lot of experience with AI, project management, where this is going, where it's been, what we should be looking at today. Anything else you want to add, Brandon?
No, that's perfect, Micah. I think, yeah, I think we can get started.
Cool. All right. So it's so funny because I created this slide deck with this concept. And as Brandon and I were working through this, and then I jump on calls every day with potential clients and existing clients, and I end up having this exact same conversation over and over and over again, which is essentially, as humans, we don't have to create from scratch anymore, which is really weird to think about. If, you know, up until what, I don't know, 12, 24 months ago when LLMs really started becoming mainstream, all of a sudden we can get a starting point. And that starting point might be going to Chat GPT and asking for ad ideas, or getting a start of an email, or in today's conversation and examples, starts on projects and document reviews and boards and all kinds of stuff. All right. So one of the ways that this kind of paradigm shift has happened is, I think, kind of best visualized in a timeline. And so typically you see timelines in like days or
What's
weeks,
for PMI?
but in this case, we've had to narrow it down to minutes so that we could actually get zoomed in enough to show how quickly AI can power certain things. So if we start with an example, like a request for proposal. When we start at the beginning of the timeline, we could do a simple chat with RFP, which I think Brandon, like 12 months ago, that phrase didn't even make like who would say that? That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, for sure.
But now it totally makes sense. So the concept is you can have a 40-page RFP, you can send that to an AI, and you can have a chat with it. Want to get to know what's in the document, want to get a summary without even having to go to, say, Chat GPT. Then you can leverage what are called agents to take the data out of that doc and start building the things that you would normally have to build from scratch. So timelines, briefs, follow-up docs, things like that. From that, couple minutes, and you're already on to generating a project, which of course, because the paradigm has changed, we can let AI literally look at RFP, look at the items and the briefs created by the agent, and generate a project for us to work through all the steps that we need to on an RFP. We can even have it linked to all the assets that have already been created, so everything's in one place, literally 60 seconds or less. And then, but even before we're done with 10 minutes here, we have the RFP, the briefs, the project, all the assets that we need in one place, and the ability to collaborate. So it sounds like science fiction when I first put this timeline together for this deck. But as Brandon and I were talking about it, and then we actually do this, we're like, wow, this is amazing.
Pretty powerful stuff, right? And it's not just, we use RFP because it's very common, procedural workflow in the project management industry, right? But there's also other examples. So we'll kind of dive into multiples. But I think the RFP timeline that we've showed here is just a great way to illustrate all the different ways that AI can assist you towards your end goal or your outcome, right? And so hopefully we can do that today.
All right, so we're going to jump because the most exciting part is not watching my talking head talk about AI and projects. It's definitely seeing this kind of stuff in action and watching it work. And so Brandon's been kind enough to set up a number of examples, and we'll walk through things like the RFP example that we just gave. For me, and I know with Crulo, marketing calendars and similar type activities and projects and settings is a really common request and a common question on how do I leverage this? How do I get it set up? And then kind of pairing with all of these things is even a very common like style of content workflows. So, we'll have Brandon walk through each of these and show it in real time. And yes, recap of the recording. I think that's going to come from PMI, but copy of the deck, 100%. So just to answer some of the questions.
Yeah, we'll provide you all that stuff. Everything that we've shown you today, we'll be able to provide you, no problem. But I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to walk through, the agentic side of a project workflow from start to finish, right? Well, I get this RFP. What do I do with it? And then, how am I going to project management, right? At the same time, but we'll walk through some agentic workflows, some AI utilities that we've built, and we'll just go start from finish. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, actually. And this is the Crulo platform. This is the platform that we've built, for project management. But also it's kind of a work OS because we've included agentic workflow and some very powerful AI-centric features into the platform. So the example we're using here today is someone's provided us with an RFP, request for proposal, right? This particular proposal is just a random RFP I found the other day, and I just wanted to demonstrate the capabilities of AI. So the first thing we need to do, is we need to take a look at the document and see what the customer is asking for, right? And usually that's, going to be a 10 to 40-page document. It's going to take you some time to look through that workflow. So kind of the first thing I'm going to do when I walk through these type of documents is I'm going to use a feature called Chat with Anything. What Chat with Anything gives me the capability to do is you can take any document, Excel document, PowerPoint presentation, PDF, and when you feed it to our AI, it'll give you an immediate summary of the document in question. So this is a 10-page RFP from a company called Ethra. And essentially what's happened here is I've fed the document to the AI, and I've got an immediate summary within seconds of everything that this particular RFP is requesting, including the system requirements. It looks like this is a company and they're in search of some new server infrastructure with some very specific storage requirements. So I know that just within seconds now because I fed the RFP um, to the AI, and I'm then capable of getting that immediate summary. But we also give you the capability to sit here and say, all right, well, let's look through this documentation. And if I see something else that's important, like maybe some key date summaries, I can actually tell the AI to extract that information, and then I can have a conversation with it. I've just extracted the key dates. Go ahead and AI will give me a summary of all those. So you can sit here with any kind of documentation, whether that be security documentation, project documentation, an Excel worksheet, and you can have AI summarize this for you. And then you can extract information within the document to get more clear, interpretations of what you got. But in this particular example, we now have an RFP. We now know exactly what the customer wants, right? And we can determine if our company is going to be able to fulfill that request, right? Before I jump into project management and handling this, let's walk through some AI agents workflow, right? On how we can best build a timeline and a response proposal to this RFP. So if you're new to agentic AI, basically what we're doing is we're creating a persona that we can use to either generate content or serve a purpose, right? And so this is much different than just utilizing ChatGPT to generate an answer to a question or a document. We're actually building an agentic workflow to serve a purpose, right? Now I've got a bunch of examples, but we're going to stay in line with that RFP. And just kind of real quick,
So real quick, Brandon, I wonder if it wouldn't help just to maybe define like what is an agentic workflow versus just going to Chat
yeah,
GPT and
that's
asking it something.
that's a great question. So,
Oh, geez. Okay.
oh
Well,
yeah.
honestly, we did not rehearse that. That's amazing.
I had it ready for you. I knew you were going to ask. I knew you were going to ask. So I get this all the time. What is the difference? And I'll credit this. This is someone that I'm friends with on LinkedIn that actually built this article. So I'll definitely credit to him for this. But a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, what's the difference between building some kind of workflow in ChatGPT and an actual agent? Well, ChatGPT, Claude, Anthropic, any of those LLMs has a very linear work through. You're asking it to do something. It's an LLM. It's going to maybe provide you some tools and utilities, and then it's going to provide an output to do so. That's a very linear workflow, right? An agent, you ask it to do something, it should have multiple LLMs, so it should be multimodal, so you can pick your model, right? It has those tools, but it also has a memory or a knowledge base of information that it can use to arm itself before it makes a decision on what it's going to answer or generate for you. So that's a very different workflow than what you can do in something like ChatGPT. So think not an agent is a very linear workflow. You ask it a problem, or maybe you upload a document. Maybe there's some tools that you can use, and then it's going to generate an output. But with an agent, you're actually arming the AI with a repository of information to generate an outcome. So that's the difference between an AI agent and not AI agent. And when we refer to these, we call it agentic workflow because we're actually using an agent to build the outcome, if that makes sense. So let's do that, right? So I've got this RFP. I've threw it into chat with anything. I know immediately what the customer wants now, right? But let's arm an agent to build out a beautiful timeline that we can take and present to our colleagues and build some content, right? So I'm going to go into my little agent library here. And in this particular instance, I've got all these different personas that I can use to generate anything from case studies to press releases, whatever I'm after, right? In this particular example, we're going to go to engineering personalities here, and I want to build this beautiful project timeline for this RFP, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pre-generated prompt. Think of this prompt as just like a prompt that you would build in ChatGPT. But the difference is here, I'm going to arm this agent with that RFP documentation so it can help build the timeline, right? I don't want to have to do this. So I'm going to enable the knowledge base, in this case, the memory for our AI here. And I'm going to go ahead and attach that documentation, right? That RFP. So now I've armed the AI with the information. Now, this could be links, it could be videos on YouTube. I'll demonstrate that a little bit later. It can take pretty much any past project, any document that you've built in the platform, any link, and it can use that to gather content and information and drive the outcome, which is building this timeline. Now, another thing that when you're using different types of AI tools that you need to look for is they're not really, some tools are very singular. They've only, they've built on ChatGPT and that's it. You're not going to get much use out of that because what can happen is those models can have problems with their APIs. Some days they can get overcrowded, overflowed. And so a real good agentic solution is going to be capable of selecting multiple models. At Krulu, we have access to all the latest and greatest stuff, right? So if I want to use Claude Anthropic, or I want to use ChatGPT, or maybe the brand new models, DeepSeek R1, which people should have heard about in the news recently. Any of those models, we can train our system on, and then we can leverage any of those. So if I like one output of a particular model better than another, I can go back to that for a repeatable result every single time with an agent, right? And so in this particular case, I've fed the agent, my documentation. I got the RFP. I've told it that I want to, keep a professional tone about this project timeline. I've told it what persona that it should engage in, and then I've armed it with the information, and we're going to go ahead and generate that project timeline. And so now AI gets to analyze that documentation, and it'll actually build me this beautiful timeline for this RFP with all the different key deliverables, the task breakdown, even a Gantt visualization of all the different deliverables and what kind of dates the customer is looking for. And this would probably take me about an hour to do, right? If I was just taking everything from scratch, digesting the PDF, kind of looking, through. It could be the use case where you can even take the documentation from your company and feed it to the AI, and then it will answer this RFP based on your pricing and your capabilities, right? So normally, if you do something like this in ChatGPT or Claude, the next thing you got to do is put it somewhere, right? So in this particular example, we have a document management platform inside of Krulu, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and send this nice, beautiful document to our document management platform that sits right here. And now I have this beautiful project timeline that exists that I've built off the documentation. And so at this point, I can go ahead and enrich this, maybe embed information from Google, from Microsoft, from Figma, from YouTube, maybe enrich this content. I also can still leverage the power of AI. Let's say I'm brand new, hired at the company that I'm working for, and I just jumped into this document. Someone's added me to the project. I've got no context, what this is for. I still can leverage the power of an AI assistant right here to ask questions about this document, right? So it doesn't stop at using agentic AI. I can also use AI to analyze information within the document. Hey, what are the strategies that are being suggested in this RFP? Right, AI can go look at that information within this document and then give you a quick summary of everything you're after. So the AI capabilities don't just start and stop at agents. You can leverage AI, or should be able to leverage AI with your project management platform, through every corner. So now it gets to the point
So,
where I've
Brandon,
no, go ahead, stop me.
sorry to interrupt. We've got a
No,
question as well that I think is a pretty good question. And the question is whether all of this can only be done in Krulo. And I think, at
yeah.
least from my perspective, if you want to jump in, Brandon, yeah,
No, go ahead.
feel
Let me hear
free
your
to
take.
answer.
Let me hear your
I'm
take real
happy to
quick.
share from my perspective
Yeah,
too.
let's hear your perspective first.
Yeah. So seeing hundreds of solutions and companies that have used this, there are AI, trying to think of the best way to say this, but there are AI capabilities in other platforms. What I feel like really makes Krulo stand out is that they've built it AI first. So it's literally the foundation of everything that they're doing to provide this insane capability of integrating AI with the platform itself versus starting with the platform and then trying to tack AI on.
Yeah, everything's built from the ground up here. And that's a great takeaway, Micah. So, this agentic workflow mixed with a project system, mixed with generative AI, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that really has that deep in their root, DNA. And I think that something like this is where that really shines because it all ties together at the end of the day, right? So we've chat with anything. We've kind of discovered the RFP. We've used an agent to generate a timeline for how this response should work. Now we got all this documentation. We can really start to move into the project creation and management phase, right? Of this that really ties it all together. And so just like normal project management systems, I have my projects area with all kinds of boards and portfolios. But again, I'm going to come back to that documentation. You know, with most platforms, when you start to create a project, you're either going to use a template or you're going to start from scratch, right? But really good project management platforms that are AI driven, you can actually use AI to build the project, right, as well. So again, I'm going to tell the AI, I'm not going to prompt it. This time I'm just going to go strict off documentation. I want you to use the attached documentation to build a project, right? We're going to call it the ETHRA RFP. And again, I'm going to go grab that document again. And then I'm going to generate the project. And so AI is going to analyze that document, that PDF, and it's going to create an RFP response timeline in project form for me that I can now insert into a digital project board within seconds, right? So let's go ahead and let it do its thing. All right, it's done. You know, our platform allows you to make adjustments, right? So I'm going to insert this project now, and it is going to exist as a digital project board. And that gives
So
me all kinds of views and capabilities. Let's pause for a second. Micah, you got something?
yeah, I think this is super interesting. I recorded a podcast yesterday on a topic of how do you manage projects when there's a lot of custom elements to it. You know, and part of this solution is using a template to get the start of the project, the discovery, the items that you would need to like define what would be the custom elements. And then you have your tail end of your project, which is the wrap up, the summary, status updates, all that kind of stuff. But this is such an interesting concept, Brandon, where, you know, I'm just kind of connecting these dots now, so it's off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
to leverage AI to help rapidly fill even the custom element of a project.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's always the hardest part is getting started, right? Unless you just have a template library of hundreds of these things. You know, the hardest part is always getting started. So I think AI is your boost, you know, to get started, and also for deep project insights once the project's built. So you know, I've used documentation to build the project. Now I can really start to breathe life um, into this. Someone's got a great question that they just asked, and it's, how do you guys handle data privacy challenges in Krulu? That's a great question. So what we've built is we've built a machine learning layer that's actually able to leverage the LLMs, and we've done this in AWS. And we use a product called AWS Bedrock that gives us a la carte access to all the LLMs. So what that does is it creates a compartmentalization layer and a privacy layer. So all that information, whether it's inference or, you know, you asking questions or storing documents, all that's encrypted AES 256. Also, when you leverage a commercially available model, let's say you go to your browser and you go to ChatGPT, or you go to Claude Anthropic, anything you submit there can be used by them for training. With these compartmentalized models, we're able to adhere the same strict security requirements for frameworks like SOC 2 and ISO step 27001. And we can do that because these are compartmentalized API accesses. Nothing you send ever gets sent back to these companies to be trained. We also have a machine learning layer that's able to sit there and direct all the LLMs to do what we want them to do. So that's your other layer of protection. You're not actually talking directly with the LLMs. Our orchestration layer is doing that for you. So you get a layer of privacy there, right? You're not just feeding information direct to an LLM. Krulu is kind of sitting there protecting your information. Everything's encrypted. We, you know, adhere to the same strict principles and security frameworks as any other, you know, software as a service solution, right? So that really helps us, you know, address any challenges. And this matters, right? Because sometimes for education entities like schools, depending on where you're located, you can't just give AI to the masses because, you know, personally identifying information can be submitted direct to an LLM that can be used for training. Right. So when you add a layer of compartmentalization by using a service kind of like AWS Bedrock, you're adding a layer of protection and a layer of encryption to where you can really protect customers' information when they're leveraging these type of utilities. So that was a great question, and I'm glad someone asked it. So let's start to breathe some life into this project and see how AI can assist us a little bit more, right? So I'm just going to randomly start assigning some statuses to this project. And remember that that I can still leverage the full power of AI along with this project, right? So I've used AI to build the project. Well, now AI sits here as a project assistant, and it can identify risks. It can look at deliverables and see if there's something that's due. It can do all kinds of things and answer questions about tasks that are assigned to other team members. So as this project starts to get life breathed into it, I actually have AI as basically a junior project manager that sits here, and I can ask it to action, things. I can ask it to give me, summaries and risks. Again, since we're multimodal, we have access to all the different LLM capabilities, so I can get different perspectives on this AI assistant. It can leverage all the different LLM outputs to give me, analysis. Also, what we've done here at Crulo is we've given you the capability to have multiple types of views. Everybody likes their project information presented differently, right? Some people like a list view. Some people like a Kanban view. Some people like a timeline, a Gantt charts. We even have the capabilities to do intake, right, with AI. So I could leverage a form, right? I could build an intake form, kind of like a Google form. I can ask AI to do that, or I can use a template, right? And let's say my particular project causes for me to gather intake, right? I'm able to use AI to generate these forms, and then I can make them publicly available, either to my colleagues or to some public entity or third party. I can gather responses, and then I can action those responses with automations. So basically, you can have this whole custom workflow based on your project needs, right? On top of that, AI is here to deliver me analytics, right? So if I'm looking at this from a dashboard perspective, and I think, you know what? There's not something here that represents all the different tasks and their various statuses, right? So let's ask AI to build us some dashboards, right? So I want a pie chart that displays all my tasks by status. Right, let's ask AI to do that. Let's see what it does. AI is going to chew on this for a second. Oh, you want a pie chart? That's great. Well, how do you still looking for status updates? Yep. All right, let's generate that. And AI will look at all the project data, and then it'll build you this custom widget on the fly. And then I can insert this nice chart where everything's broken down into status right to my dashboard. And then I have a drag and droppable AI centric dashboard that I can use to create and manipulate my reporting dashboard. And even if I have multiple projects stuck in a portfolio, these dashboards can be unified and their data, right? So now I'm using AI to actually leverage reports and dashboards, right? Which is probably something new in the project management space. So not only can I create the project with AI, I've got my AI assistant, and then I'm actually using AI to provide analytics and dashboard reporting. Some questions coming through. Is there a plan to incorporate this into Procore or vice versa? Oh, Procore is actually a construction management software platform. And so the answer to that is yes. But maybe a little different than you're expecting. We attack a lot of different verticals at Crulu, all kinds of different areas: marketing, RFPs, sales organizations that want to track, revenue, down to having agents to generate sales pipeline reports. Construction is very near and dear to me, right? I have family that are in the construction business, and one of the things that we're going to look at on the horizon here is we're going to take like the best things that you see in those softwares like Procore, Lucernix, things that deal with project management, and kind of build out workflows that make sense from a construction management perspective. So yes, that is a vertical that we're actively looking at to kind of work with and capture some of those workflows, things like permitting, right, that go along, document embedding. Let's actually talk a little bit about that real quick. This applies to kind of any vertical, but you remember I generated that beautiful document, that project timeline. Well, that's going to go in a document repository somewhere, but I want to attach that to my project so that as people get out of this, everybody stays up to date, right? So what I can actually do is I can have a file section here as a view, right? And I can either upload a file, right? Or I can embed documents from the platform itself, right? Into the platform, right? So if I've got documents that I've created inside of the platform, right? Because we're also a document management system. There I go. I've then attached that project timeline to the project. So now anybody that's working on this RFP has direct access to this project timeline. They can jump right into it, right? So that comes everything full circle. I've used agentic workflows to create timelines for a project. I've just used AI to discover, the documentation that's been provided me from the customer, and now I've taken it full circle by actually creating a project, using AI to do analytics, and then attaching that documentation that we've built using AI straight to the project. Right. So these are all things that you would look for in a project management solution with AI, that's really hardcore baked in. We're seeing a couple more questions come through. How can Crullo help organizations add a contextualization layer to the outputs to account for their unique value proposition? Competitive differentiators. All right, this is an awesome question. Right. And I think kind of what's being asked is when you're using kind of agentic workflows, right? How can you capture your brand and your unique value? So this is actually a good segue question. So we have a customer right now, and they sell a very specific type of product, right? And they have a very specific type of target customer profile and tone. And essentially, what AI is capable of doing is when you're building something like a marketing or a social media campaign, when you start to feed the AI stuff from your website, or maybe a YouTube video that you've done, it starts to capture the tone and the brand value that you have. So it's able to assume kind of that persona. And so when you start adding knowledge, and let's do a demonstration of this. So let's say I want to build a social media campaign, right? I want to talk about a product or a service, right? Let's talk about Crullo's agentic AI. And, I'm going to target things like Twitter, maybe, or X, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, right? So I can go ahead and give my platforms, right? Let's just give 2 for now. And then let's start to arm this, and let's see what kind of a tone it starts to assume. So first off, I'm going to go to LinkedIn, and I'm going to capture Crullo's profile in LinkedIn. I want it to use this information about who we are and what we do when I'm generating the social media campaign. So I'm going to attach that link. Right then, since we're talking about specifically agentic AI, we've got all kinds of video content on YouTube, right? And so one of our videos that we have on our channels is, a personalized intro into AI assistants and agents. So we've got a whole video on how agents work. And if I'm going to deliver the social media campaign, I want to add these pieces of information. So I'm going to go ahead and add this 1:30 YouTube video to the knowledge. And a video takes a second to process. We're gonna sit here and let the platform process that video information, and then I'm going to have it create this social media campaign. And I want you to kind of see how it takes on the tone and the elements that whatever content that you've generated on your website. It's smart enough to do that. So we're just going to give it a couple more seconds to digest this video content. When it's ready, it's going to turn green, and then we're going to be able to use the documentation to generate the social media platform. But agents, the capabilities of agents, when you think about them, at the end of the day, it's kind of endless, right? You can build an agent for anything. And with our platform, I don't know about other platforms, you're not just stuck, right, with the stuff that we've built off the shelf, right? We can actually use AI to build agents. So you can tell the system what kind of agent you want and what you're trying to accomplish, then attach documentation or a project and get an end result. So you don't just have to stick with, something that we've built and put on the shelf, right? So it looks like it's digested that video. I gave it the LinkedIn article. Let's have it generate that social media campaign with all that information. So you can start to see, if I were to watch that video and I looked at that LinkedIn article, it's going to start incorporating, the phrases, the tone, the look, and the feel into generating this social media campaign. And I've just fed it, just 2 pieces of documentation. Imagine if you got this rich content library, what you can feed AI and have it infer, from all the rich documentation that you can provide it, right? And this is not just a short document. right? It's actually building a full-scale social media campaign. Another thing that that you'll find that regular LLMs have a problem with is we call hallucinations, and that's when they generate content that's it's made up, it's fake, right? We call them hallucinations. And when you start using agentic AI to build social media campaigns and stuff like this, since you're providing it with the actual documentation that you want it to use, you have less hallucinations because you're cornering the AI into a position where, hey, look, I don't just give me something random that you may not have information to. Here's the information that I want you to use for the outcome I'm trying to accomplish, and I want you to use that. And so you have less of an issue with things like hallucinations, if that makes sense. The term workflow, I've got a question that's coming in. The term workflow in this context indicates a project process or sequence. Yeah, you could think of it that way. Workflow is start to finish. I want to accomplish a social media campaign. Um, my workflow items are going to be documentation. Here's the documentation I want AI to use, and here's the result or the output that I want you to give me. So that's kind of agentic workflow. Like you're building an agent, it has a very specific purpose. You're going to give it documentation to accomplish those tasks, right? That would be what I would define as workflow in this terminology. So now we've built this beautiful social media campaign, which again, I can take straight to document phase, view document, and then I can work through that whole process again, right? I don't have to start from scratch, and I've actually used all the content that I've given. So I'm just going to pause there for a second and see if anybody has questions. We've pretty much walked through an entire workflow. We've given multiple examples. We've worked through an RFP. We've built a social media campaign. But agents don't have to stop there, right? We have a library of all these nice things, over 85 different personas. But what if I told you you can use AI to build AI agents, right? So I can create a custom agent from scratch or with AI, and I can tell the AI what I want. Maybe I want the AI to build a risk assessment. Maybe I'm a cybersecurity guy, right? So I've actually told AI before that, look, I want a risk analysis agent, right? So what I've done here is I've told the AI, look, you're an expert in creating RAID analysis. That's a risk assessment, identification, and evaluation. Then for knowledge, I've given it, some frameworks on how to do RAID. And then I've actually given a project that I have created in the past. Then I can go over here and have a conversation with the AI and tell it, look, I want a complete risk assessment of this project. Can you output that for me? And then it'll build that for you because you've attached that project to the agent. And now I can action on that. I can create a document or take this process straight into project phase. For example, if I want to take the next steps of this risk assessment into an actual plan, I can create a project for that. So all this workflow ties in together, and we're using AI to accomplish the end result. But I'll kind of open the floor a little bit. You have to, I'm one of those people, I start talking and it's hard to stop me. So, just chime in, ask questions in the chat if you want. We've got, a while. We've ran through a lot, but we do have a little bit more time here to spend with you today. If you guys have got specific questions or maybe specific scenarios that we could try it together, I'd be happy to assist. Micah, you got anything else you want to add to any of that?
I think you did phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, this is every time you demo, I'm like, all right, this is getting cooler and cooler. But yeah, let's see if anybody else has questions and we can take it from there.
Still got 82 people in the meeting. That means I might not be half that bad at giving presentations. Usually, if you're not captivating or you don't have a really good topic, you kind of see the numbers and Zoom kind of people just drop off. It'll go from 80 to 60 to 50 to 40, but it looks like that we've had a pretty good audience today. You guys have stayed. I've been able to entertain you at least a little bit with some of this stuff.
I have a question. I'm not sure if we are supposed to just type it or if we can even ask.
Yeah, you can ask me. We can have a conversation about it, or you can type it. Either one.
Yeah, I have a question. In kind of ongoing work as a project manager, we have to generate project status reports with kind of the summaries, highlights, and then more detailed view depending on the audience with some visual components and a lot of text. is this able to generate the status report based on information in different formats, anything from emails, chats, documents, and such?
Sure. Yeah. So what you could probably do in that regard is you could build an agent specifically tailored to that. So I would go in here to my agent library, and if I didn't have one, I would tell the agent that it's expert at analyzing projects and giving status reports, right? So you could build that workflow, right? And then what you could start doing is attaching the projects, the emails, and the documentation to the agent. And then at your end goal would be to chat with the agent and tell it to take all that information and generate a status report for you. And if the project existed inside a platform like ours and you had AI assisted dashboards, you could include, because look what I'm able to do with this. I'm able to take some of these dashboards and I can generate them, export to PDF, even documents, right? And so I can include that in a report. So that project timeline, right? I can export that to PDF. And I think I did this earlier, but it actually should export this plan as a PDF, and then it'll go to that specific directory, and then I can include that on my report, as well as the agent should be able to generate that report for you as well, right? If you wanted to do that. Another thing you could do is you could book some time with me, and I could show you how to build an agent to accomplish just that in the platform. I'd love to do that with you. So that's something that we're also really love to do at Crulo. If you've got these use cases, that you'd like to see demonstrated, give us a call. We'll jump on Zoom real quick. We'll build an agent for you and see what output we can get, right?
Yeah, I think that it's excellent when you have the project managed in one space, but I mean, my experience, that's typically not the case. We have information stored in
All kinds of places, right?
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that we also pride ourselves in here at Crulo. So we have integrations with tons of products, right? So when I look at integrations, I can tie Crulo into all the major project management softwares, Airtable, Basecamp, Asana, Monday.com. If I'm a software guy, we can tie our projects into all the code repositories. I can do things like embed stuff to CRMs, Microsoft Projects Planner, my Outlook, Salesforce. All these products we have integrations with, and so what we're able to do is grab information from other platforms. So if you've got kind of stuff spread all over the place, right? Let's say that you're using, one of these other products. We have simple API connections where we can just grab all your data, get it into Crulo, and then you can leverage AI capabilities. You don't have to completely leave those platforms, right? We kind of look at it as from a perspective of, hey, like instead of trying just to replace these other solutions, well, let's integrate with them from an API perspective so we can grab information from any of those platforms, put it in ours, and then someone can start leveraging all the different AI capabilities that you get, right? So
Thank you.
yes, I got another question. Can Crulo be integrated with other source code systems?
And
Yeah.
Brandon, we missed, there's a few other questions up higher that we missed.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think
We scroll up.
Denise asked about, let's see.
Mark
Well, it's even further
Mark
back.
asked about
Marco,
feeding AI
yeah.
templates. Yeah.
Yeah, but let's go above that. Oh no, I got a direct message. Let me just start there. Is Crulo available in Mexico and Latin America? Yes. Anders, you want to just answer that quickly, real quick?
Yeah.
Anders is our senior vice president of global sales operations.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
We're available in Mexico. We're pretty much a global entity at this stage. So we're available in any market. The next question that's not a direct message was, can you share project access with a team member and give them authorities like editor view? Absolutely. So I can look at a project here and I can either make this public or private. And if I want to share, I have members, and members can have different statuses. I can have owners, edits, they can just view, they can comment on stuff, or they can be a third-party guest. So all those kind of capabilities for that. And it looks like Chris is also helping me answer some of these questions. Thank you for that. And then what was the next one you guys saw for me? There was the Crulo integrated with CI/CD platforms.
Mark asked about can you
see.
feed the AI a template, PowerPoint template, and get it to complete it as an output monthly reports? That's where we need to start from there.
Can you feed the AI a template, e.g. a PowerPoint template, and get it to complete it as an output, like e.g. a monthly report? I could probably build an agent to do that. We have Chat with Anything where you could extract the information out of the PowerPoint presentation, and then I could leverage that with an agent to get an output, to get a report. So first I would walk it through Chat with Anything. You'll notice that we can Chat with Anything, a PowerPoint presentation. That would allow me to collect the data. And then I would build an agent to use that data to generate an output, like a monthly report. And then I think we have a feature coming down the road where you can have these things kind of scheduled. So every Monday, someone needs X, you can set up an agent to be able to do that for you. All right, let's go down from here. Thanks, Chris, so much for helping me answer all these questions. Can you show an example of what you're currently speaking about? I'll need more clarification on that, D. What specifically are you looking for there? How did you convince an organization to buy onto an Antal to say Krulo, especially one having fear of data privacy? Well, that's a good question. We walk them through our complete data privacy. I'm actually a cybersecurity engineer, and so that's one of my responsibilities here at Krulo is walking through clients on our security processes, on how we handle and encrypt information. And if you've got hesitations or doubts, I can do one-on-one sessions with the C-level down to specific stakeholders on how that's done. I talk to CTOs all the time about how we handle data encryption and how we're taking steps to protect data with AI. It doesn't have to be this thing that you fear, right? We've created all these different layers that are available for customers to protect their data. So, and I'm happy to walk through that anytime with anyone. Next one here. Can Krulo be integrated with source code systems, CI/CD platforms? Yes. Let's say if I'm familiar with a product like Jira and I'm working through sprints and epics and things like that. We have those capabilities, and you'll notice that I can sync Krulo to those code repositories. So things like Bitbucket, GitLab, GitHub. And this is so you can perform GitHub actions on when you're doing pull requests and things like that. So you're working on like a software type style project through an agile type framework, and you've got sprints, epics, and you want to sync to your CI/CD pipeline. Then yes, we support these three platforms right now.
Yeah. So Brandon D also clarified on the integration side was the example.
So integrations. Oh, so you want me to demonstrate one of those real quick? Was that what you're kind of saying? Like how an integration would work? I'm happy to do. How did you assess the market fit for this AI tool? I don't know. Anders, you wanna take a stab at that one?
What was the question there?
How did you assess the market fit for this AI for Krulo? Like, where do you think it fits in, and how do we assess that?
Well, I think that a lot of project managers are looking how to be more efficient, but don't always want to go out and sign up for separate AI tools and then try to figure it out externally. So having AI and agentic AI brought into a project management software suite was the goal, so that you're working in a familiar project management environment, but then while doing that, you have the AI built in and it's at your fingertips and it's right there. So it makes it easier to use. And it's all integrated, and that keeps you in one place, allows you to actually use AI probably more than you would. And by tying it into project management, it helps you be more efficient instead of multitasking. So by talking to quite a few consultants that work with project managers on a regular basis, Micah Johnson being somebody primarily that we talk to as well that has done this for many, many years, we assessed that there was a way to do that and to bring this to project managers everywhere, and find a way to essentially make them more efficient without having them figure everything out outside of their existing software. So that was the overall idea for the fit. Bringing in collaboration, document management, and so on, and putting AI in those parts as well just helps overall to maybe even communicate and collaborate with other departments in the company.
That's pretty good breakdown there, Anders. Next one I've got: is there a way to incorporate controlled in-house document templates into your platform? Yeah, so I think That's one of the things that we're working on, kind of like a document repository, but you're going to have a time where you're going to have things like forms where you need a template library, right? And so in a little way, you're kind of treating the platform as a digital access management or a DAM at that point, a digital asset management, I'm sorry. And so, yeah, I think we've got some features coming down the pipeline where you can kind of have your own template libraries for stuff like that. And incorporate those into your workflow and then control those informations. We have another feature, that's due down the road, I think, that will help serve that too. And that's something very similar to enterprise search capabilities for your documents. And that gives you the capability of providing all the documentation to the platform and then asking it to find almost anything, right, within seconds. And so that has a little bit of a controlled workflow to it as well, or maybe you can access documents from everywhere, right? Or, your specific stuff or only stuff that you have access to. So that's another thing that's kind of in the planning right now.
Man, so many great questions.
Yeah, super good questions. I'm happy for you. I'm glad for the audience that we have today. Everybody's is really engaged. Kind of give it a couple of minutes here. See if anybody's got anything else to discuss, but I'm happy to work some of, through some of these workflows with people. If they want to see some of this stuff demonstrated, reach out to us. Get in touch with one of our representatives. It's super easy to book a demo with one of our sales representatives. You can go to the website, book a demo. We have sales reps that are ready to present and do kind of tailored content for what you're looking for, right? If you just tell them that. I don't mean to plug this from a sales perspective, but if you're interested in the platform, it's very simple to get access to it.
Yeah, and I think, one thing, Brandon, that's really interesting to this is, we talk about how AI can create all of this, but then it's the human element of being able to go in and collaborate and seeing the data and understanding how everything fits together, which is just like the magic part. That used to be all we had, but now we get all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we no longer have to just make up stuff, right? Or from scratch.
Yep. Yeah. So this very, very simple diagram kind of illustrates that. I mean, this is what, especially when myself and Krulo started chatting and I got to see what they were building and what all this comes together at, just this concept of having AI to leverage and build and ask and do all the stuff that'd be so time consuming otherwise, but it's creating a lot of data. So, whether it's on the development side and sprints or projects or documents, there's so much data in there. Even the collaboration, the conversations, the comments that are in there, that's all part of this data that goes together. And that all leads to the accountability aspect of just being able to say, well, where are we at in this project? How far have we hit the milestones? What tasks are done? Who's doing what? Be able to collapse all of that into one platform, or even if you are running different platforms and have projects kind of split across different places, to still be able to pull that in. It's just amazing stuff. And it's just kind of this new, I, I don't know, turning a page for just project management in general, it feels like. All right, so we did a lot of Q&A. We're out of order on this slide, Brandon.
Yeah, we got
But if
ahead of
anybody
ourselves.
does, yeah, if anybody does have other questions, feel free to jump in and ask and let us know. Otherwise, here are some QR codes if you'd like to connect with us. I noticed some people throwing in their LinkedIn profile links already, which is phenomenal. Really happy to be on this call, and thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Like I said, happy connect with me on LinkedIn, reach out to me at Krulu. I'm happy to explore the product and different use cases with you. But like I said, it's very easy to book a call with our team, and we're ready to answer questions, show you examples of things that you can build.
And we do have, it looks like, a couple more projects. It looks like Chris is starting to answer, but industries, early adopters of AI and project management. You know, Chris mentioned retail, manufacturing, consulting. Totally. I mean, I see it all over the board. I've worked with about 300 different companies now in industries all over. And it's interesting because this piggybacks another question that came in on the meeting minutes workflow. And it's just, this is one of the most common questions that I get, which is just, hey, how do I take my recorded meetings? How do I get the transcript? How do I create action items? Like that spans, that's an AI workflow that just spans industry, because unfortunately we all have to be in meetings probably
Yeah.
more than we'd all like, but that, I mean, maybe chat on that for just a little bit, Brandon.
Yeah. So some of the stuff we got coming down, obviously we have a mobile app that we just got on available in Android and iOS. And so I'll give you some direct use cases that we're shooting for there. So think construction management for a second. You're having your morning safety meeting on the job site. You got your Kulu app open on your phone. AI is capturing your meeting and then transcribing that to a document where you can keep as a record, right, for compliance, and then uploading that to our document management platform all on the fly. So you don't have to do that. So you can present that to a manager or HR or whatever. That's another thing that we've got in the works. And then we also have channels that we have. So we're just like a platform like Slack where you can have communication, or Microsoft Teams for that matter. So let's say you go on vacation for 2 weeks, right? And this could be any vertical, and you come back and you're like, hey, what did I miss? And so AI has access to all your different channels that you've been in, and it can give a summary of everything that's important to you or you've been involved in, and then output a summary of all that information. So that's kind of the AI meeting assistant type things that we're looking to accomplish. Absolutely. Thanks for joining. Henry just thanked us for a great presentation.
So guys, good
Hi,
afternoon,
Damila.
everyone. Yeah, I just would like to jump in very quickly to jump. Sorry about my interrupt. So my name is Tamila, and my role at PMI-SAC Professional Development Coordinator. I just see a lot of people leave now this presentation, so that's why I'm jumping. I would like to say big thank you for all people who is attendees today, especially for speakers, for Michal, for Steven, for you, Brandon. Thank you so much. It is very useful information. Definitely I will use in my real life, and definitely I will apply. And first time I will try to use Chrollo. And I also wanted to say thank you for all attendees. If you have still time, we still have 30 minutes for QA session. Please give any question what we have, and we would be happy to answer, right? Yeah, it's not finished yet. It's still 30 minutes. So please don't leave us if we have a chance.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hyatt. Thanks for joining.
So about PDUs, I see a question: how many PDUs we report? We will assign PDUs for this event online. So after that, we will see PDUs separately by email.
Wait and see if anybody.
Hey folks, John Miller here. I just want to come back on. Thank you again for your talk today, Brandon and Mika. Apologize for the audio issues we had. We had difficulties logging in with the admin account to mute everybody, but you seem to manage with the background noise fairly well.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens, right? No big
Yeah,
deal.
and fascinating where you're taking. It's like AI on top of AI. What you're sharing there is
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
pretty deep, right?
It was. I just didn't even think it was real. Some of the stuff you were clicking and showing. So it's fantastic work you're doing. Really great that you're able to share it with us and make us think about new tools in our toolboxes. So on behalf of PMI-SAC, I'd also like to thank you very much for
Absolutely.
your time
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for letting us come and
Thank
present.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, there is another question just on price range and subscriptions for Crulo.
Yeah, we have Chris or somebody want to pipe in on that. I know
Yeah,
one of my
sure.
yeah.
So this is
Or
Stephen.
Stephen. Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah,
He's a
I'm
good
here. So the price range, yeah, it's a subscription model, and we charge $25 per user per month.
And I think maybe just a quick comment on the pricing, because it is something that gets brought up, and I think it's such an interesting concept. A lot of the conversations that I have, which, you know, not affiliated with Crulo by any means, but just looking at some of the competing solutions out there, is Crulo's pricing is definitely competitive on what it is and what you get it for. And I always just like to think about, you know, what's the right platform to use that gives you the best case scenario for saving the money that you would spend on the software. So even though it's per user, you're equipping every user with the ability to do so much in such a compact software. Looks like there's a follow-up question. Do we get to take our data with us if we don't continue a subscription?
Yeah, sure. So there's multiple ways that can happen. One industry standard is we can kind of purge all your stuff for you for security concerns. So if you leave, we can delete everything. Or, you know, if you're going to move to the other platform, obviously we have API integrations where you can just import the stuff that you built in Crulo somewhere else. Or, depending on the necessity here, it might be something where our development team exports all your information to an encrypted drive and gives that to you, right? That would certainly come with a cost because of the physical medium that we could do that. But again, 3 different ways. We can purge everything. We have APIs that you can leverage to import your stuff on another platform. You're certainly welcome to do that. Or we could export your data from our platform onto encrypted drive for you. But obviously we would charge for the cost of the encrypted medium, the physical medium that we would be putting on. So three ways to accomplish that, D. I like all the security questions from D today. Security is my forte.
Speaking your language, huh?
Speaking my language.
All right. Any other questions, thoughts on use cases? Let's see. How do you go about building something like this? Ooh, there. Now it's really in your wheelhouse.
Building agents or building our platform? The answer to that would be very, very carefully. It takes lots of different areas. So let me actually take an honest stab at that question. How do we build something like this? Well, you need a couple things, right? Our founder is a brilliant product manager and engineer himself. And so what we've done here is we've gathered some very, very talented AI engineers, put them together with some great security engineers and DevOps team, and you've got a recipe for success. So our founder is brilliant. He took up the idea, like project management with AI baked in from the get-go. We have very talented machine learning and AI developers that were able to conceptualize frameworks very quickly. So we say, all right, we're trying to accomplish this. Like, let's build an agentic system where we can arm it with knowledge. We have a very talented team of engineers that can just look at a framework and then build AI subsystems off that. And so our co-founder had this brilliant vision where he imagined a project management system that incorporated all the best pieces that you would want to have in a project management platform, but make it like a work OS, right? Step outside of project management, and let's have other use cases for AI, like agentic workflows and document management and collaboration and communication. So it takes several different things. It takes a brilliant visionary, and then a really talented development team that's able to execute things. And when I say execute things, I mean turn around features in a matter of weeks. So our team puts out basically new features and builds once a week, or as most development teams, depending on if they're agile or waterfall based, it can be a 2 week to even a 3 week or a month turnaround process for them to generate new features and builds. Whereas we're doing this every week, right? So you have to be incredibly nimble. The other thing that you've got to be careful about is AI is kind of a red ocean right now, right? So everybody is trying to make the next best thing, right? And only some of those people are going to survive, right? So you have to have a very clear vision and a very clear execution on what you're going to bring to your market, because if you don't execute that properly, then your message is going to fall flat, right? And I think here at Krulu we've executed a pretty strong vision of what project management is going to evolve into in the next couple of years with AI, if that makes sense. Does it only operate on dark screen? No, there's two modes. I am blind, so I prefer dark mode. But we can have regular mode as well, right? So I just let me just demonstrate that. I'll share my screen real quick. So if I go back here and I share my screen, you can see that I can operate within light mode or dark mode. I just prefer dark mode because it looks better on my eyes, and I think it makes the colors pop and kind of flow better inside the interface. But yeah, we have both modes, as you can see.
All right. And then a follow-up question on AI and ensuring that AI doesn't misinterpret information or generate content that isn't present. That's the hallucination bit a little bit in the
Yeah,
provided
so
documents, or even misimportant
we
details.
can talk about that a little bit. So the biggest problem with some of your LLMs, and this is getting better and better and better, right? The problem with Gen AI is that sometimes if it can't find the correct answer for what you're trying to ask it to do, it'll hallucinate and it'll provide useless context. So an example I like to use on this is, let's say that we ask an agent to do crypto analysis and we ask it for the current price of Bitcoin, and it doesn't know. It'll just assign a value for that. I've seen that happen in some LLMs. And so you want to avoid that because it's not relevant information, and it's just something that the AI has ran home to mom and daddy to try to generate content. And so how you prevent that is you have to construct an orchestration layer that sits there and is kind of puts up the watch guards on the documentation that you're given your LLM to use to generate the output, to generate what you're trying to build. And so if you put those guide rails up when you're actually storing something, in memory and giving it very specific goals, you can reduce the amount of hallucinations that you get. And like I said, I've watched this evolve over the past 2 or 3 years, and I've seen, the very beginnings of ChatGPT and things like that, where hallucinations were pretty bad. And now the way things are constructed, especially if you have a governance layer, they're about 99% accurate, right? Very, very low margin of hallucinations. And so, things are constantly evolving around that. So to answer the question, we arm it with a knowledge base of information so that it's very laser focused on the content that it has to prevent, misinformation or things that are not accurate. That's a good question, Victoria.
Yeah, I gotta say the questions in this presentation, they're awesome.
Yeah, this has been the best
really great
best one I've been
questions.
on in a while,
Yeah.
right? So for sure, I love doing these. The problem is it either goes one of two ways. Oh, well, one of three ways. I think you'll either have 9 people on the call and that's it. Or you'll have 100 people, and if your topic is not captivating enough or you're not doing a good enough job, it'll drop down to 30 or 20 or 10 really fast, or you won't get any questions, right? So I think we've avoided all of those scenarios in this particular one. So kudos for PMI for giving us a great audience.
Yeah, and it, you know, just I think kind of piggybacking on what you were just saying on the AI side, Brandon, you know, you mentioned even 2 or 3 years out or past of AI, but like that's a long time for development and things to change, and it has. But we're still at the beginning stages of all of this, which is mind blowing. You know, it's kind of like, all right, we can get some basic automation. Cool. That carried businesses and workflows for a couple decades. Then it's the start of AI and LLM, and like, let's ask it some questions. All right, cool. Now we're entering agentic workflows where there's the ability for it to kind of reason and act autonomously with just a basic set of instructions and some tools to work with. And you know, where that goes from here is it's, you know, mind boggling to think. I think of like a Star Trek The Next Generation talking to the computer where there's already that voice stuff. But one thing that I did want to mention is none of what we're seeing is like replacing people. What's interesting, it's almost like the mortar that fills in the gaps. Like it's just it's able to do the things so that people can do the work that they're best at, that AI is not good
Yeah,
at,
everybody was afraid
that
that AI
works
was just going to
together.
replace them, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think and I read an article the other day. I forget where I read this, but it actually what LLMs have actually done is take the average person and increase their IQ 20 points over what they're normally capable of. And that's what AI has given us the capability to do, right? So it's not really replaced jobs in some sense of it has made us, I think it's made us more efficient workers, right? And so
I told
that's
my
how I
wife
always
that, but she didn't agree.
she didn't believe with you. Yeah. Yeah, there are use cases, but of that or your wife just doesn't like you because of your IQ, I guess. I don't no.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, so I think the next I see where I see this going is connecting agents to agents. So you'll have agentic
Hmm.
workflows connecting to other agentic workflows in order to, to solve a business problem, right? I think that's where it's already heading. Constructing multiple agents, having agents action upon items, um, building automations into those, and then connecting those to other agents, right? I think that's where the kind of direction I see things taking. So
Yep. Yep. 100%. Awesome. All right. Well, if anybody else has any other questions, please jump on or drop it in the chat. I think we're getting
yeah, I
close to
think we're getting
time here.
close. Yep, getting close. About 15 minutes it looks like, but yeah, it's I think there's just 32 people left in the presentation, 31 now. So let's slowly wrap down, and I think this will be recorded and distributed. Is that correct, Tamila?
I'm mute and speaking, sorry. Yeah, it's correct.
Awesome. We'll just give it. I'll give it a few more minutes, and I'd say 3:20, and we can call it. Do again appreciate everybody that showed up today.
Yeah, no, this is
Yes,
wonderful.
very.
Thank you for Tamelia and Cecile. I mean, all you guys putting this together. So, I'm really thankful that we had a great crowd and lots of great questions. And you had mentioned something about, potentially sending this out in a newsletter, like the link to, so for people that couldn't attend. Do you think that would be useful for some of the folks that didn't make it?
So we don't have any more questions. I see people just leave us. So for all attendees, I would like to also say and reminder, we have a lot of upcoming event. Just please check our offshore website, PMI-SAC, and our calendar. We will see a lot of upcoming event. And also we have a volunteers opportunity. If someone expressing interest to be volunteer at PMI-SAC, please check this opportunity. And yeah, one more time, I would like to say just thank you because it's very useful information. Thank you, guys. Thank you for attending. Thank you for speaking. We will post this workshop on LinkedIn also. Please text me if someone have concern about it. But if someone is okay to post on LinkedIn, would be very great.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks,
Yes.
everybody.
Appreciate it very much.
I see on the chat, everybody just type thank you. So I hope all one
right,
is like it. Yeah. So have a good evening. I just want to say have a good evening, guys.
Yeah,
Have a good
you too.
afternoon.
you as well. You as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thanks for the
thanks,
opportunity.
everyone.